Hey friends, I promised you a video on an experiment that I'm doing with my continuous glucose monitor. And this time I did an experiment because I had a horrible sore tooth. Turns out I needed a root canal, but I couldn't get to my dentist for 4 days. He didn't have an appointment available until 4 days later. So when you are in that much pain, you really don't care about diet. You can't even hardly eat anything. You can't put pressure on your gums. And you're hungry, but what you're going to eat is something that you can either chew really soft on the other side of your mouth or something you can drink. So what happened to me is that since it took 4 days to get to the dentist, the first day I remember not even being hungry. I fasted. The second day I got a little bit hungry. So just to recap also, I am wearing this continuous glucose monitor. It is a program through Nutrisense, and the link for that program is in the description. The thing is, they have an app where if you scan it once every 8 hours, it automatically scans your glucose throughout the day without you having to remember to scan it. And then what you do is when you eat food, you basically take a picture of your food and your dietitian that's assigned to you can see what's happening. So the goal for me is I want to be metabolically flexible. The problem is all diets work and all diets fail. It seems like you can never stick to a diet. My goal is weight loss. I am wearing this. It is something that you have to be prescribed from your doctor, but Nutrisense has doctors on staff, just like they have dietitians on staff. So the great thing is they have this amazing app that captures when you eat your food, even while you're sleeping. They are the only company that has a program designed that even when you're sleeping, it tracks your glucose. This was so shocking to me because I had higher glucose levels when I slept, and I never knew that. If you guys had watched my channel before, you guys know in past videos that I've done with Dr. Boz, she prescribed me a continuous glucose monitor just so we could see what was happening. But when the doctors prescribe that to you, you have to be the one to constantly take the app and scan it, where this is the only company that if you can scan it once every 8 hours just to keep it connected, it'll continuously scan it for you. I found when I did that test with Dr. Boz, you're supposed to take your readings before you eat, while you eat, and every 15 minutes after for up to 2 hours. And the problem was these monitors are only good for 2 weeks. And you can only, if you're testing an ingredient, you can only test the one thing for every 2 hours. And if you forget to test in that time frame, you're not going to see how quickly your glucose shoots up and how long you have a spike for. So this is why I am in love with Nutrisense right now. They just have the technology that can really help you understand what's going on. And I think the biggest thing that I've learned from doing this experiment is that there is no one diet right for anyone. What works for you may not work for me, and what works for me may not work for you. And you won't know that until you watch what's happening within your own body. So I think the goal for all of us is to be metabolically flexible, right? I've done keto for 4 years. My body knows how to run on ketones. You remember when you first started keto, you had to train your body how to run on ketones. You had to teach it what a ketone was because we were all in a glucose burning state. Well, now my body doesn't know what sugar is because I haven't had it for so long. So if your body isn't used to bouncing back and forth, when you do something that's foreign to it, it shoots your glucose. Now for me, I want to keep a healthy weight. When you shoot up your glucose, first of all, it causes oxidative stress within your system, which you don't want, but also it triggers your insulin. Your insulin is your fat storing hormone. I don't want insulin. I don't want that response. I don't want that big of a response. I battle with insulin resistance, so there's some foods that just do not work for my body. So my goal is to become metabolically flexible, live life, enjoy foods that I like, and not be severely overweight if I go off of keto and have something that I really enjoy. Doesn't seem like too much to ask. It's life. So my goal with this program is to see what my body likes and what my body doesn't like. Funny thing is I've had this monitor for like just a month now, and I've learned so much. In fact, I just signed up for another month, and it's probably just 2 months I'm going to need to have lifelong answers for the plan that works best with my own biology within my system, my own mitochondria, my own metabolic system. And if you want that, listen up, because this is some really interesting findings. So when I eat keto, anytime you eat, it will cause a little bit of an insulin or a little bit of a glucose spike. But when you eat keto, the reason why keto works so well for most people is that those foods do not cause an insulin spike high enough to trigger, or a glucose spike high enough to trigger an insulin response. This is why keto has been so successful for me, and I've been able to reduce the inflammation in my body. I've been able to lose a lot of weight and keep it off for 4 years. I'll have to put a little blip on the before and after photo. And excuse me, I just got back from a walk, so I am a hot mess right now. But if I didn't get this video out now, it wouldn't have happened. So it just is what it is. So let me tell you what happened with my tooth. 4 days, I couldn't get to the dentist. I was in a lot of pain. I did not care what I ate. And I was just in the middle of wearing my first monitor. And I messaged my dietitian and said, please don't look at the last 4 days of my records, because that's not how I normally eat. And we analyzed the data together. And let me tell you what I ate. I had soup. I had like chicken noodle soup, which I haven't had in 4 years because noodles, they're not keto and they're high carb. I fasted. I had protein shakes. I had sola bread, which is a low carb bread, with peanut butter and sugar-free jelly because I was so hungry, but yet it was soft enough for me to eat on the other side of my mouth that wasn't hurting. I had bone broth. I had watermelon. I had, what else did I have? Protein shakes. I think I had eggs. Yeah, that's about all that I had. Oh, no, I had sweet potato. For some reason, I was craving sweet potato, and I don't ever eat sweet potatoes. It's just not been a food. I love sweet potatoes, but it's just not been a food that's been incorporated into my keto diet. So when I messaged my dietitian, I said, look, I'm sorry I've been absent. I've had 4 days of pain. I just had a root canal. It's over now, thank goodness. The last 4 days, this happened. And she analyzed those 4 days, and shockingly enough, she said, you know, every single bit of those foods did not cause you a severe glucose spike that would give you oxidative stress. So that tells us a couple of things. First of all, you've been doing keto long enough to where you're not sensitive to those foods. I've probably fixed some things just from doing keto so long. And she says, the only thing that I saw that could have been done better is I could have upped my protein. I need to make sure I get enough protein every day. And I could not believe that I could eat sweet potatoes and peanut butter and jelly on low carb bread, and the noodles, the soup and the noodles, it was very little. So the biggest eye-opening thing for me was I need to up my protein, which everybody does. So the way that I think of it now is protein first. If you can eat protein first, it stabilizes your blood sugar. So just knowing that, I don't have to, even though I've practiced keto for such a long time, sweet potatoes are not a problem for me. You just have to know how many carbs you can have and when you can have them. So some tips that she gave me is that always start off your meal either with a vegetable with no carbs, no other carbs like cheese and croutons if you're having a salad. Just eat straight vegetables, or eat your protein first. I have a hard time with protein, so I prefer to eat my protein first. So if I'm going to fill up, I'm going to fill up on the good stuff first. And then what that does is it stabilizes your blood sugar to where if you do have like a soup with noodles, or you do have like sweet potato that has a little more carbs, or like I told you before in the previous video where I went to Estancia and actually had cheese bread, which is a huge no-no because it's loaded with carbs, your blood sugar won't spike up so high. It will increase, but you're not going to get to that over 130 oxidative stress. And then even if you do have something that is not on your plan and maybe your body doesn't adjust well to it and you just know it's a no-no, but you have it just every now and then, maybe it's a special occasion, maybe it's a birthday, maybe it's a holiday, and you just have to have it, you know your body doesn't agree with it. She has taught me hacks on how to, even if it spikes, you can prevent it by doing something ahead of time, or you can quickly have it come down by doing something after. And what happens is when your body is not used to all of that insulin flooding your system, you have to make way for glycogen storage in your system. So if I know that I'm going to do something that my body doesn't agree with, then I could do some weightlifting ahead of time to open up those glycogen storage. That way, when it happens, it has more storage for it to go instead of, just creating the insulin response that I don't want. And after you eat, if it's something that your body doesn't agree with, you could go for just like a 30, 45-minute walk. And even though you spike pretty high, you can get that down real quickly because you're burning that glucose first. So the goal is always to have a very low insulin. Don't get above that 130 for the oxidative, 130, 140 for the oxidative stress. If I just ate, I love watermelon. Oh my gosh, I love watermelon. It's sweet, it's filling. Here in Texas, when you're going to the pool, we would just bring a big bowl of watermelon. If I eat just watermelon by itself with no protein, nothing else, my blood sugars will spike 180 to 190. They will go so high. My body does not do good, even with natural sugars, such as watermelon. But if I eat protein just 30 minutes before to stabilize that, my body can handle those sweeteners and they can process the sweeteners better when I'm ready for them. So that just goes to show you that you don't know. This is part of the reason why some diets work for others and some diets don't work for others. She was also telling me that, she has a friend. You saw it in the last video. She has a friend. Her friend can have sweet potatoes. She can't. She can have rice, but her friend cannot. We are all different. You don't know what your body does. There is no one person that can specifically tell you what is happening in your own body. This is why this is so exciting for me, is that nobody has been able to pinpoint the things that I struggle with, the foods that I eat. And I eat so good. I very rarely treat myself. I mean, even on my birthday, I eat keto-friendly foods. So it is absolutely amazing that, bananas. I forgot to talk about bananas. That's the other thing that I, for some reason, was really craving when I had my tooth pain. I don't ever really eat bananas. My kids love bananas, but I don't eat them. But when I had my tooth, I remember putting a little bit of peanut butter with my banana, and I couldn't eat bananas before, but I was totally able to do it now. I stabilized it with some peanut butter and it was totally fine. The other thing she told me is never have a high carb meal like a banana, beans, anything high carb. Don't do it the first meal of the day. The first thing that you put in your mouth in the morning is what you are most sensitive to. And you cannot handle, if you have insulin resistance, you're not going to do well with carbs in the morning. And I explained that test last video where I talked about the beans with my huevos rancheros, how I shot up with just eating a little bit of beans. Well, if you're the type that's having coffee in the morning and you think just a little bit of whipped cream is just fine and it has that sugar in there, let me tell you, that is probably spiking you, and it's probably keeping you really, really high. Even the sugar-free whipped creams probably have maltodextrin in them, and they're probably spiking you and you don't even know it. When you spike, you're creating that insulin response. When the insulin is present, you're not losing weight. So it could be as simple as whipped cream in your coffee. But if you had protein beforehand, you could probably still have your coffee with whipped cream. You just have to know how to hack it. And this program, I keep pointing to the wrong thing, this CGM that I'm wearing with this particular program, it teaches me when I can eat. Timing is just as important as the foods you eat. And the foods that you eat, they don't always have to be just low carb or strict keto. You can do it different ways. So I found this video just to be super important, just to say that, you know, I don't always have to be keto for the rest of my life. In fact, my website is called lowcarbinspirations.com because I do believe everybody should be low carb to keep your health. We all know that carbs and sugar are what causes disease, and too much of anything is a bad thing. So my website is called Low Carb Inspirations because I honestly believe in a low carb lifestyle. But I'm here to tell you, you don't always have to, you know, be fasting. You don't always have to, you know, worry about not having bananas or not having sweet potatoes or these whole foods. You just need to figure out what works for you. And Nutrisense can do that for you. So I'm going to put the link down below if you want to check them out. They have doctors on staff. They have dietitians on staff. They've even given us a discount code. You can use discount keto-friendly. And if you sign up with any of their monthly plans, and I'm not going to lie, it's a bit pricey, but when you think of all that you get the CGM monitor, you get a dietitian, you get an app that tracks all this data. Once you know this, even just for a month or two, you're going to have this information for the rest of your life. I don't understand why we have to have prescriptions for this thing. I think everybody should have this. It should not be just for pre-diabetics or diabetics. These are people who already need help. We should have this information so we don't get to the diabetic or pre-diabetic state. This should be the way. This should just be open to technology to everybody. And I'm so glad that Nutrisense, I'm not part of them at all. I just feel strongly that I believe in what they're doing as a company. And I'm so happy I found them because it has just been eye-opening over the last month. I signed up for another month. I did 1 month already. It was so valuable that there are a couple of other things I want to test. So I signed up for another month just because there's some other things I want to know. So stay tuned because I am going to continue to share with you what I've learned. And if you want to check them out, just check out the show notes below and I'll give you their information. I hope this helped you. It has certainly helped me and I enjoy sharing my journey with you. Good luck and we'll see you in the next video.